Hello gang, it's Julia Morris here. The delicious Paula McGrath and I have literally sorted out the problems of the world on this podcast. Tune in. We can't wait to see you.
Welcome to Pure Grit with Paula McGrath. If you search the word grit, you'd see that it means to have courage, show strength of character, passion and perseverance. Throughout the series, Paul will chat to guests from all walks of life who have shown pure grit to get to where they are now. Paula, yeah, look, your hair looks fine. I've done the intro, so ready for you to talk now. Yeah, you do your talking.
Thank you so much for all tuning into Pure Grit Podcast. I just want to say how grateful I am for all your support, downloads, shares, reviews. I'm actually quite chuffed as I'm achieving what I'm passionate about, which is bringing you inspirational stories, life stories, which leads me now to my next fabulous guest. She's a household name, top of her chosen field, a comedian who has very, very famous fans like James Corden, may I say. She's a mum and a wife. There's no one that actually doesn't have an opinion on my next guest. We have known her since the 90s, well I have, where she appeared on my favourite show, Frontal. She can act, she can sing, she hosts every single television show in our whole country. She hangs out in the jungle with a very hot doctor. She certainly makes us laugh. Is there anything she cannot do? Welcome to Pure Grit, the delightful Lady JMO, Julia Morris.
How are you, my darling friend?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Oh, locked down and pretending I'm loving it.
So you've only been just locked down back in Victoria again.
Poor old
Did you come out? Did you actually come out, Julia?
Not really.
You haven't?
Honestly, on that final day, which was sort of on a Wednesday, I can't even remember if it was last week now, and we had a final hurrah. We had two couples over for dinner and their kids, which made the exact amount that at that moment you were still legally allowed to have. We socially distanced, we sat outside, we did all the right things. And I said that night, I cannot believe I haven't really come out of lockdown yet. Because I was so used to being in the house, ducking out for food. I've been a big mask wearer since early doors. So I don't know. Is
that because you want to go out in disguise so no one knows it's you, Julia, under that mask?
I don't think no one cares. No, honestly,
no one cares.
No, because I'm not like a hot single, so no one cares because they just figure out doing mummy stuff anyway. So no, I did not come out, but I wonder if that is my new life. You know, apart from the fact that it has ruined so many lives, it has. I just said to my daughter last night, it's been a real. Well, it's not been a blessing for anyone. Let's be really clear about that. But in terms of our family dynamics, it stopped me from being on the road, which is the only way that I know how to make money. And, you know, in our profession, don't work, don't eat.
No, that's right.
So I feel like it's given us back. I mean, for years I've been wishing for everything to slow down.
And then
I didn't want my work to end. I just wanted it all to slow down. And it's certainly done that.
It's really slowed down now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So
it couldn't be much slower, to be honest. So,
well, you know what? That's been really, really good. I didn't time this, Julia. For 11 years, I've been trying to do a podcast. So I started 11 years ago, which podcasting didn't even exist. So I started in Sydney.
Oh, of course.
And I was a little bit before my time, way before the time of podcasting. And then I thought, I'll work on it back in radio, doing my thing. I thought, I want to do my own thing as well. So I did it for 6 months and then it happened to launch during COVID. So I've actually had so many guests available, which are normally so busy. Like
yes,
yourself.
Of course. And also that this format of, you know, not quite right lighting, can't really see my face, all that stuff. It's absolutely acceptable, and I find that shiny floor show intensity of every single moment that we see on camera is no longer required. And I love that's because shiny floor show can do its own job. That's great, but not everything has to be so schmick.
An hour and a half in hair and makeup. Look, this is me just putting on a little bit of slap for you this morning. So I
mean, I barely got some gloss on, and I had to put some colour in an old lady cheek. And to be honest with you, I mean, let's go up close and personal. There was nothing I could do about the eyes. Have a look at them.
Well, this is me. So, I've got Ugg boots on. I'm, like I've just dropped Jem to school. See, Julia. Oh, what have you? You're fancy.
Oh God, it's because I have to do DEFCON 5 thump grocery shop after we've spoken, because that's my life.
So, Julia, you had the kids homeschooling the whole time?
Yes, and if the look of horror and PTSD come over my face while we're talking about it, that's completely natural.
Are you a little bit jealous that I just dropped Jem at school for the first time this morning after her holiday? So,
well, I'm happy that my babies are home, but
I had him
homeschooling, brutal.
He's a bit younger than your girls.
Yes, well, also the younger they are, the more 24/7, finger on the pulse that you need. My girls are 11 and 13, so I can sort of go, okay, see you in an hour. Not during homeschooling, but during the lockdown, I certainly can.
Yeah, so I had 9 weeks, so I can't really complain compared to what's happening for everyone in Victoria, because we're very, very, very lucky in God's country.
Absolutely. It is the place where God goes on holidays. There's no two ways about it.
Isn't it?
I read a fascinating article today about all the Victorian bashing, and we're certainly feeling it. Like, a lot of the publications that, and I've been sort of I've been trying to turn my mind off to all of the news reading at all times of day. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just so depressing, and you don't really need any help with that around this time. No. So, but certainly that, bloody Victorians giving it to the rest of the country. I'm like, what? And, naughty Victorians going over the state line.
Sneaking across the border like your Mexicans.
You know what? Everybody I know, and I mean everybody I know, I don't know if this is called virtue signalling or humble bragging or what it's called, but everybody I know has locked down according to what's expected of us. So I know there's going to be young people or not young people. I don't know what age everybody is. That was a bit of a judgment. I'm trying to loosen up with that. But, knowing that you're going to Queensland from Victoria is simply not on if you, like sneaking across the border. What did you achieve?
Well,
a bit of warm weather for 2 minutes.
Put it in perspective. To put it in perspective, so Massachusetts is the size of Victoria in the US, and they have been locked down for 4.5 months. So no one, because Jem's dad lives in Boston now, and they've been locked in the house for 4.5 months. And I was speaking to him today. They've been having 25,000 cases. So they're the size. So to put it in perspective, Victoria's still doing okay when you look what's happening in the US. They can't even go outside.
Absolutely.
4.5 months.
You know what? I got to talk to Kate Langbrook while she was home.
Oh, she's in. Yep.
So she's in Italy, but her father hasn't been well, and she's just popped home for a few weeks, and I got to have a little telephone conversation with her, and she was fascinating, talking about the people that were obviously, I think she'd only been in hospital, and then she did her 2 weeks quarantine, tra-la-la, and she was saying with how out of control, maybe that's not the right word either, but how it is in Italy, and with our numbers here, that we appear more scared than they are there. I wonder if the worst has happened, so they're kind of getting on with it, whereas we're still in the "don't you give it to me" phase. It's like, I don't know if you remember when AIDS came on in the 80s, but it had a very similar feeling of, "Don't come near me, you must not, am I going to get it from what?" Like all of that odd speculation and judgment, and I did actually I brought some specific glasses for those who are being a bit mean about Victoria at the moment.
What are they? Julia.
Listen, but for the grace of God, go you.
Can I just tell you, my son Jem, if he saw those glasses, he would pay you anything to have them. That's his
I know.
favourite thing
Dollar
was
shop.
this wind up to me too, this wind up one. Yeah, that one. And I say,
Old school.
it's not appropriate. His age, it's not appropriate. It's just not, it's not appropriate. But he was like, oh, you're having Julia Morris on your podcast and I have to go to school because, of course, he's been home. He just wanted to come in. He was going to come in and go, oh, you know, he was.
He's a lifesaver. He can do anything he wants.
He was like,
it just saves lives. So
he's not really excited about anyone that I chat to. There's been a couple. Jimmy Giggle, he was very excited.
Amazing.
Jimmy Reeves,
Love
he
him.
wanted to come in. It's the only person he wanted to come in and say hello to, and you, of all people.
Oh my God, the original Giggle and me. I love it.
And he's doing, I'm a celebrity, get me out.
I mean, if ever there was a need for the expression, at least the whole of the country is getting a bit of an idea of how it feels in lockdown, of how those celebrities must feel, or even less so, because at least in lockdown we're still allowed to have our phones and our devices. But can you imagine what it's like now that we've had this minor version of lockdown? What it is like for those celebrities to be, you know, in this odd location with other people they don't know, in a small, you know, like even our closest loved ones give us the dirts.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh. So
and you sort of have to hold your tongue, I can imagine, a lot of the time. Like I think about it and think, I do that. And I was thinking, I don't know, like
pretty brutal.
I don't think I could do the eating challenges. That's probably when I'm on air, we're talking about it radio, I gag at some of the
and they stink. The food absolutely, I mean, it's beautifully prepared by proper, you know, food stylists, so that it looks amazing.
Balls and things.
Looks appetizing. What? I know, I think the food stylists then, you know, do the proper boiling and make sure, you know, like it hasn't just been, you know, cut off the back of the cow and here we go.
So it's not going to make you sick, like as in, because it looks like there's flies on it sometimes. And
There is flies. The flies are insane.
Julia, do people vomit? Because I think I would just get it down.
I think sometimes straight after, just from the thought of it.
Right,
if
mind. Yeah.
So but I mean, I admire them because they definitely get in that headspace of it's for the team, and therefore, you know, I need to do my bit almost.
As a viewer, I go, I could do that challenge, and I could do that challenge, like running on the treadmill on the edge of a cliff or whatever. I could do that. I could do
Watching it, we think we can. I'm just doing something very strange.
I thought you were going to show me your boobs then.
No, we both know it's a matter of time. I put sticky tape over the there we go. I just got to rub that. I put sticky tape. I mean, the setup here is very professional.
What did you put sticky tape over to make yourself look like you're the Bold and the Beautiful?
You know what? I'm going to take a photo of it and show you because it's just some next level stuff. It's amazing. So here we go. This is like
you're giving yourself mood lighting, Julia.
Pretty much. Oh, God, I've finally given in and bought the silly ring light. It hasn't arrived yet. So what I've done here, I don't know if you can see that, is I've got Dan's laptop, but because I don't have my email and therefore the Zoom like press thing, so I have sticky taped my tablet to Dan's laptop, and that's giving me the angle from above because I keep shooting.
Oh yeah, you need to sit.
When I'm speaking to people, I keep doing that. So I was wondering if the sticky tape.
I haven't even given that a lot of thought. The camera angle. Hang on, let me.
No, yours is gorgeous, but then you're just delicious. So, you know, all is well. I'm having to do look what I'm having to do just to get that neck.
Julia, I wanted to bring you on Pure Grit because you're one of the household names in Australia that everyone has an opinion on. Like they all say, like you know, like I love her, or oh God, she drives me crazy, you know, because of
Can't bear her.
Yeah.
I'm polarizing. Yes, indeed. I'm less polarizing these days, but yes.
That's with anyone that's in the media and in the public eye and on radio. Oh, I can't stand Paula's laugh. Or I love her laugh. It's wicked. You know, it's comments, you know. A lot of people
and it's easy to comment from the safety of your own
keyboard
cocoon because we're used to watching the television and, you know, so saying, I have a go at this idiot. So watching from your own cocoon, you can say anything. It's just that, obviously with social media these days, that stuff you're saying in your house can now go directly into my head if you,
That's right.
Put a message on my stuff.
On your things.
I can't do much about the people that don't like me.
Yeah,
so.
but you're thick-skinned. You can't be in this business like me. Like, you have to be thick-skinned. You get it. I've had it my whole career.
I'm not even sure I am that thick-skinned.
Really?
I think what I do is I manage my life to stay away from the negativity. So I don't really read reviews. I try not to go back to the comments on any of my social stuff.
Good.
Sort of post and leave. As
Same.
long as I haven't popped a bomb in there, sometimes I'll do a quick scan. But anything that I read that's negative stays with me. So I just Yeah, Dan reckons it goes into a little editing booth somewhere in your mind, and that's what then informs your performance as you move forward in your career. And that's the tail wagging the dog, and that's not the way to do it.
But a lot of people don't know you, and so that's like know you as in Julia, not the performance, super hyped Julia, just Julia.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't actually know you. They only think, oh, that's Julia, and that's how she is all the time. That's how she must be at home with her kids, with Dan, her husband. And I know that you're not like, there's a Julia on and there's a Julia off, which is sort of like,
I
sort
think
of like
came about. Those two sides of things I feel like they have, as in the hyper version and the down to earth version. Since I'd say turning 40, I've been more confident in not trying to be funny all the time. I think that in years gone by, and with the trajectory that my career has taken, is that most of the time when you're on the television, you've got a 4-minute, if you're lucky, and the same with radio, if you're on the radio, you got a 4-minute or a 6-minute window to sell a tour where the money that you make from that tour is the difference between whether you stay in the rental property that you're in or whether you have to get a smaller place. So there is definitely a lid of desperation that goes on that when you're performing. You're like, I must sell all the tickets. I'm going to be trying to be as funny as I can in this 4 minutes. Here we go. And that, I guess that desperation is what turns a lot of people off. And then there's other people who are just like, I love how insane it is. But over the years, I've been allowed to be more honest. And I think that is something that has come about through, women being allowed to have a voice and an opinion.
Yeah. And I get that. As you get older, suddenly you you try and tell younger people, but you just become settled and happy with yourself. Like and then you just like top of the field. Like you host absolutely everything in the country. You're like, I think you're like the go-to presenter.
Seeing a psychologist in my early to mid 40s, mid to late 40s it was. For the first time ever, I didn't know that other people saw psychologists. I thought you had to be in a very, very bad mental state to do that. Maybe I didn't think that. Maybe I just didn't know that that's what you do, that you go and speak to someone to sort it out. And seeing that psychologist definitely let me sort out people that don't like me in my head. I think before I'd be like, but what's not to like? I don't understand why they don't like me. These days I'm kind of like, that's all right. I wouldn't be able to fit them in the theatre anyway.
So, Julia, where did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I'm a Gosford girl.
Gosford.
I grew up on my beloved sunny coast.
Oh, so you're a bit of a beachy girl in your youth.
My gosh. All my formative years out at north of Avoca watching the Avoca Beach board riders. What? Now they never went near me because I was always a substantial unit, but I did sit on the beach and wax on, wax off.
and yeah. So you went to school there, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for
all
my final
of your
2 years of school, my year 11 and 12, I commuted down to Strathfield to school.
Strathfield.
To go to Santa Sabina College, which is at the time we had a great grand aunt who was still a nun at Santa Sabina. So off I went down to Santa.
Was that a girls' school?
Yeah, an all-girls school, and just on an hour and a half commute each way, every day.
Oh.
Yeah, it was intense. I did stay with my best friend at school. I stayed with her family 1 or 2 nights a week, and that definitely broke up
the travel,
the crazy commuting. And I loved it. We wore a kilt. I felt important. I went to school in Sydney.
I wore Jesus sandals. I went to a girls' school too
unreal.
I wore Jesus sandals and long
the
socks.
sandals de Jésus-Christ. Love it.
And the nuns. We have a similar schooling, Julia. That's why. I think that's why we're a bit like, ooh.
That's why we're completely nuts. That's the best bit. You got to be nuts, otherwise, how are you meant to cope with it all? I think you're either nuts or you're pretending you're not nuts.
Exactly.
I mean, it's very busy either way.
No, I was very similar upbringing, but I was brought up in Adelaide.
Oh, I love Adelaide.
Yeah, I was very, very straight in Adelaide.
I think I was too. Like, I wasn't rolling around with boys until my very late teens when I was out of school.
Oh, wow.
I feel like I was sort of a glee club type. I was in the musical society, and I wasn't very religious, even though we were made to go to mass every Sunday.
Yeah, same.
But that was a fashion parade for me, or a time to really check my nails.
Same as me. Check your nails. And sing and practice your singing, Julia, because you've got such a good
and sing it up to the gods. I mean,
I wish I could say I didn't find boys till my late teens, but being the youngest of 4
and gorgeous,
I was trying to my brother's friends and hello, they're always coming over to the house. My brother's 18 months older, and so his friends were perfect age, but I think I was just annoying little sister. I mean, like when you talk about polarizing, the same people that didn't like me wouldn't have liked me as a little sister. Same as me. I was annoying as hell.
Yeah, I love it. Wouldn't have it any other way.
So being on the beaches, you had obviously lots of sun. And is that where, I don't know what age you got skin cancer?
I started having moles cut out when I was 9.
Oh, wow.
And my first melanoma I had at 21. Literally couldn't have a 21st birthday party because I had my first op for that. Then when I was pregnant with Sophie, I had a second one. So that's 2008. And then I had a third one in very, very, very early stages. Third one about 4 years ago, I think. So, but I did, in all fairness, I did turn like a pig on a spit out at Terrigal Beach every weekend, even though my mum had lost her brother to melanoma a long way back in the family. Yeah, so we had form in that area. But as soon as I was put in charge, like a lot of young people, is that you're indestructible. So I loved the feeling of being burnt. I thought I looked hot. So
yeah, exactly.
I'd be like, bring it on. I've always been a sun bunny, which is an odd choice to live in Victoria as a massive sun bunny, but I think it might be saving my life.
I used to put the reef oil on. Like the reef oil. Now I've got 50 plus on my face every day. And
but the damage is done. But isn't it interesting the way we treated ourselves? But that is not how I've treated my girls. Maybe. Since they came onto this planet, they have been lathered.
And so, Julia, with your girls now, you had a bit of also a similar struggle to become a mother like me.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
We were both geriatric mothers.
If you don't mind, get my walking frame, I'm ready.
That's what I used to get called when I'd be going for you're a geriatric. Like, huh? Geriatric?
It's amazing. I had Ruby at 38 and Sophie at 40. And I hadn't met the right person before that. It's not like my career had taken over. Now all of a sudden I'm going to focus on my personal life. I just hadn't met, I'd rolled around with a lot of people, but none of that moved in the correct direction of love. So I met Dan at, I think I was 34.
How did you meet him?
We were introduced by friends. He was in advertising and was also ran a little comedy club, and he was great friends with a great friend of mine. So yeah, they didn't. I'm not sure that they brokered it. They certainly introduced us, but then once we got together, they were scared. They were like, "Oh my God, please treat each other beautifully because you're both unreal, and I don't want anyone to get hurt." And we were already in it by then. But 12 months into being together, I felt pregnant, and we were kind of like, you know what?
Wow.
Let's just go for it. Why wouldn't we? We already were feeling that it was happy ever after. I mean, not happy ever after, as we know with marriage, but that certainly in that first 12 months, that's how it feels. And I was up at the Edinburgh Festival. It was pretty early in the pregnancy. I might have been 7 weeks in maybe. And on the final night of the festival, I had to cancel. Oh, no, my final 2 shows I had to cancel because I went into hospital for a checkup. I can't remember why I had a checkup, but anyway, they found that there was no baby there anymore. So I had to go. Oh, no, that's a lie. It was that time. It was an ectopic pregnancy. So they had to operate. They
had to have a surgery in the tubes.
It was about to blow up, yeah. So they took out all of the left-hand side of my equipment. It gone. So then after that, we kind of eased up for a little bit. I think we also had that way of thinking where you're like, well, we obviously want to move towards a baby, so let's just not be that careful. And, you know, it's funny, you spend, 35 years of your life trying not to have a baby.
That's exactly right.
And then all of a sudden, when I want it, it just really wasn't working. Then a number of miscarriages followed that, in odd and different circumstances at different times. And, not only do you look around and everybody's pregnant. Everyone's pregnant. Everyone around you. Even Dan was pregnant. Do you know what I mean? Like it just feels like every single person around you is pregnant, and you feel, I guess I felt like my body just wasn't working. I had a real woe me time for a long while. Not woe me, that sounds like I'm lightening it up, but I just mean how come I can't? How come everyone else can?
How come how come it's such a struggle for me to?
Yeah, and lots of people have said, but it's it is it's okay because it can at least you can fall pregnant. All those things that people kind of say to make you feel better. And I sort of have been conscious now as I get older is that there's a lot of those sort of platitudes you simply don't want to hear. I don't know what you're meant to say. I don't know what people could have said to me.
Now, Julia, in going through it, the empathy you would have for couples struggling to have a baby. You'd have empathy like God. I have. I have incredible empathy for.
Absolutely. And, a load of my friends have been through IVF, and that incredibly intense and a lot of the time heartbreaking process, and then have luck, it is and then it's just such a odd and heartbreaking time where you feel like, you feel dysfunctional or something, or like, how come everyone else's body's working and mine's not? And then there's that horrible moment of going to the bathroom and just being like, take it again,
Yeah.
It's hardcore.
So you went through a few even, when was it? So had you had your first child when I've read about you were on the...
No, so a couple, I think I had another miscarriage in between the ectopic, and of course once you've had an ectopic pregnancy and you've lost all your you've
only got one tube, one ovary.
Yeah, then all of a sudden you start having your scans from the second you find out you're pregnant, and so all of that sort of daily or weekly checkups is an incredibly stressful way to live. And I had another unsuccessful one, and then I fell pregnant and had to go to the Cape Town Comedy Festival. And of course, everyone says, keep working. And the Cape Town Comedy Festival was 6 weeks. And as I was leaving London, because I was living in London, to go to Cape Town, we found out that I was pregnant. So I was also in this weird situation of being in another country, being a long way from Dan. That's at that same time the London bombings went off. Dan was on his way into work. Our flatmate was on the train that blew up in the tunnel and had to walk through the tube tunnel. Like, it was so intense. And luckily, early in the piece, Dan had called me in Cape Town saying, "I'm okay. You're going to hear a lot about blah, blah, blah. This is what's going down." And then by the end of that comedy festival, which was 6 weeks long and so joyous, and then on the plane on the way home, I started to spot, and I was like, and then I realised what was happening. I came out and I said to the comedian that I was travelling with, this beautiful man, Andrew Maxwell. He's such a funny, gorgeous Irish comic, and he goes, How big was the shit that you were doing in the toilet that you were that long? Like,
as you do when you're, as
I
you
was
do
in there for ages.
As you do when you're a comedian and you're friends with Julie Morris, you would say something like that, and then you're
totally, absolutely. And I said to him, I think I'm having a miscarriage, and he has a child. So he was sort of like, oh my God, what can I do? What can I do? What can we do? And the second that we landed, because in those days, of course, there was no internet on the plane.
No, you couldn't ring.
You just had to wait it out. And I kind of knew that it was happening, but it just didn't stop. And then we got off the plane, and I said to Dan, don't come out to Heathrow. It's so far away, and it's just quicker on the train. If you actually drive to Heathrow, it takes you 4 times as long to get through London.
Getting on the tube.
So I had said to Dan, don't come pick me up. Please don't. I can jump on the train. But his wife had come to pick him up. So they sort of took me straight away to, instead of getting the train by myself, blah, 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 because I had no equipment to do anything about it either. I was having to roll up fucking toilet paper.
Yeah.
So they dropped me home. Dan was then waiting for me. He realised that, we could get through, and that's what was going down, and called the hospital, went off to the hospital, and of course, the rest happens, and then you come home and you've got yourself as company for 4 or 6 weeks while you recover, which is always terrific, because you really want to be in your own thoughts when shit like that's going down.
And Julia, that's part of, I'm sure I maybe have a little bit of I can speak from an understanding, but that's part of your resilience. You have resilience, and that's why you have got to where you are, because you probably you go into that place, and I went there. My first baby I gave birth at 24 weeks, and so on Mother's Day, so that was my Mother's Day morning, and I've been in hospital a very long time, but everyone says, how do you get through that? And I got my period 4 weeks to that day. Again, like, you're empty, you leave the hospital. I gave birth, said hello, held the baby.
Oh, especially with all the plans and all the everything.
24 weeks, you just think you're home and hosed. You think you're home and hosed about then, like, don't be upset for me, Julia, because I can, but see, you have the empathy, exactly like me. Now I help whoever I can with child bereavement and loss of babies, because I can. People think, oh, you don't understand, but then you go, I do. And then they're like, then they're like, oh, you do understand.
And varying degrees of that throughout a pregnancy, there's varying degrees of intensity as you get closer, as you get closer to delivery day.
Yeah,
just it gets more intense and more full on, and you know, 24 weeks is
You're so beautiful, Julia. You cry like me. I've been crying on this podcast a lot. But I can understand. A loss, Julia, loss is loss, isn't it? Loss is loss, no matter.
Absolutely.
It's the grief and the loss of is loss. And
totally. It doesn't,
it's builds your character and you get over it. People say, they'd be like, how did you get over that? I go, well, you know, I don't know. Maybe that was my mummy moment.
Look, isn't it fascinating being asked how did you get over it or how did you deal with it? Because at the time, like I can talk about my own experience now without crying, but at the time I couldn't have spoken about it out and about to help others. I couldn't have done it.
No, me either.
And well, also I would have been also scared that my light take on things would have been disrespecting anyone who is going through that at the moment or has been through it. So it's also, because it's such a high emotion subject, it is tricky to speak about. But I think getting through it, you just fucking get up each day. Like, you're not like, right, I'm going to get through this, watch this because I'm strong. It's none of that. It is just putting in the time.
And no one can really help you. I just got through it. I got through it and I suddenly changed my thoughts to positive thoughts, thinking, well, that was close. I got to be a mum. There's lots of people that I know that never, ever have fallen pregnant. And I got to say hello and carry you for 6 months. And, you know, I don't know, I turned my thoughts around. I felt very, very empty after very empty.
You do not feel strong at the time at all.
No,
it's in hindsight.
I had all the milk coming in and, you know, all the things. Oh gosh, like, you know, and I had to deal with that. And I look back and I think this has made me who I am today. One, it massively gave me empathy. I never knew if I was going to actually be a mum because I just was about to go to yoga and I would have had the baby on the yoga mat. Was that it?
Yeah.
Like, I just thought, I feel open. I don't know. I hadn't had it before. I just thought, I feel a bit open. Oh, I did not go to yoga. I had no pain, nothing. And lucky I didn't go to yoga, Julia. Because might not have been a great yoga class. And
hey, hi everyone.
And I can laugh about it now, but I can.
Would the yogis have been furious that you disturbed the class? You know how yogis get so angry. They're like, yes, I know that's happening to you, but this is my hour.
This is my hour. So I do help young friends.
I love that you do that.
Daughter, you know, anything. I give them like a special book that I was given that helped me to get over, and the hope that it will happen again. And I try and give hope, and it will. If it's meant to be, it'll be. And I was so lucky. Years and years later, not till I was 39, fell pregnant with Jem, and I just knew, Julia, that even though they were also worried that I was going to go into preterm labour, they stitched on my cervix, you know, like, shall we close her up, you know, like, and I knew it was going to be fine. I just knew.
Half the shit that you go through.
In there, looking in there every 5 minutes, you know.
Sewing in. Oh, I know. And when you get that funny little thing that goes over your tummy and just like, please, everything be okay.
Oh, I had that every second week, like, and I knew everything. I don't know, something came over me, very calm, and I knew it was going to be okay. And I was going to be a geriatric mum. But hey, it makes it all the
sweet. My walking stick.
Yeah, it makes it all the sweet. I was so, like, you know how some doctors just don't have that matter. Oh yes, a geriatric mum. Like, geriatric.
Yeah, you can't get enough of that.
I'm 39. I'm not. You know.
It's amazing. Well, also, just like, I reckon, put it on their paperwork, but you don't have to say it to my face.
I know, but they don't think.
Well, that's a medical term for them. It's got nothing to do with the word geriatric. So but in terms of pregnancy, I suppose it is a final hurrah, your 40s.
And then Julia, then menopause hits. And then that is your final hurrah. It's all over, Red Rover.
I mean, the highlights of menopause. How good is it? Do you know?
Look,
I do want to speak about
financial year, the beginning of this financial year was my 3-year anniversary.
Was it?
Mm. So I then went into, I'd say they thought was early, they call it, so geriatric mum, but early menopause. So whether
Yeah,
or
I did
not.
the same.
Okay.
I did the same. I hit my perimenopause started at 45, and I think prior to that, my relationship with menopause was that it was old women.
Yeah.
So at 45, no one really speaks about having it in their 40s because it makes you sound old. Whereas now that I'm in my 50s, I'm like, 50s is not old. 40s is certainly not old.
No.
And if the body decides to shut up shop, I'm not sure it has a lot to do with age.
No, it's not. It's, I don't know whether, you know, no one in my family, my sister or no one had menopause as early as me, but it could have been, who knows, the stress that my body was.
And you know what? Yeah, I reckon you're right. The stress on your body is intense. I was kicked into early menopause because Dan had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And
Julia, that I don't know.
At exactly the same time, I'd had a series of blood tests around that time in that recovery period after he'd had his mastectomy. And the doctor called me and she's like, okay, there's going to be a lot of focus around Dan's health over the next couple of months because of everything that's going on. But you have started menopause and these are the things that are missing in your system. You know, vitamin D is missing, this is missing, that's missing. And don't get too wrapped up in looking after everybody else and forget that you need to do something about yourself. And any day now, I'm going to get around to doing something for myself.
For yourself. So how is Dan? Is he all clear, like all these years on?
He was incredibly lucky that so what had happened was he had a little cyst in his, I think just underneath his nipple. And boobs are not something the boys talk about unless they're not on there at all. You don't want to go into the doctor and just go, my boobs.
I've got a little lump. Yeah.
But Dan's not that macho guy either. But at the time we were living in Los Angeles, and he's like, I found this weird little lump. So we went and so he not only had the fucking clapper.
Oh, how do you do a mammogram on a man? I mean, hard enough on me. I don't even have any, so it's like there's nothing there.
It's why it's trouble for guys because by the time it presents itself, and by the time they kind of admit that it's happening, there's very little direction for it to go. For us, it can come out into the, you know, as the little cells take off.
It can go
for
out.
Us, it can come out breast, but for boys, it can only go in one way, and that's into your system. Anyway, he had it. I think he had a biopsy and he had the mammogram. Both of them just said, look, it's a cyst. Nothing to worry about. And it was a cyst. That's what it was at that time. So by the time we got home to Australia, I think we'd only been home a year from Los Angeles. It was a year after I'd done The Apprentice, I think. And which you won, Julie. Oh, look, I sort of do it all in timelines because things took off at different times. You know what I mean, from different shows. And he had a tummy hernia. He had like an outie belly button, which essentially is a tummy hernia. An outie is a little hernia. So what they do is, and it started to hurt. So if he was working out, it hurt. If he was doing whatever, it hurt. So they sort of, I think they push the belly button in. They put a bit of gauze to hold it in. Then they sew it all up, and then that's your new innie.
Pushes it back in.
The surgeon who did that, Dan had spoken to him and just sort of casually mentioned the lump. And the surgeon was a family friend. My mum worked for him for years at his reception. And he sort of said, you know what, I'm just going to take that out anyway because it just doesn't need to be there. I know it's nothing, whatever, but, you know, we had our old biopsies and our whatever. He's like, I just don't like it. I'm going to take it out. Do you mind? This will be nothing in comparison to how sore the tummy will be. Because a tummy hernia, from how it sounded and what it looked like to me, was exactly the same as my ectopic scar, like, you know, it cuts into your stomach, and you're essentially rendered on the couch for 6 weeks. So we went a couple of weeks later, and I just had some Botox, because a girlfriend of mine said to me, "You've got to go and get some Botox. Your forehead's moving too much." That was my
like this, like mine.
Oh, look, mine's the same. It's not, you know, lockdown, I decided to just let the balloon go now. I'm like, whatever. I don't care how I look anymore. I mean, I do, obviously, because I've got some lipstick on, but you know what I mean? Like, who cares? Show your road map on your face. Anyway, so a girlfriend said, "I think you need Botox." I was in that weird paranoid kind of insane time of, I'm losing my beauty in my 40s. It's a very unusual crossover period, I think, in terms of that menopause starting, and am I still sexy? You know, it's such a strange time. And so we went in to see the doctor, and he had said, "Okay, well, tummy's great. I'm really pleased with how it's improved, but I need to speak to you about this." So it is I think it was I can't remember what it was called. It was like a single cell carcinoma in situ. It wasn't a single cell, can't remember that bit. So he's like, "If I cut it out, it'll be gone. You've got no further correspondence." And I want to make sure when I'm in there that that's the case, as in, when I say no further correspondence, no chemo and no radiotherapy. So, and he's like, "But I need to do a mastectomy, and I need to do it tomorrow." So we were like, I mean, that's, you know, it's that moment that, I mean, I don't even think you imagine what that must be like. You don't really think about the doctor saying shitty news, do you, really? And so we got out into the car, and we were stunned to silence almost. And in the hospital, I sort of had gone into real mummy mode of, not in the hospital, beg pardon, in seeing the doctor. I'm like, okay, what do we do? Where are we going to go? How do we do that? What do I do? Who do I put the kids with? All that. How do I organise it? What do I make? How can I get the house ready for him to come home before that one? I'm not putting pressure on myself while he's in the hospital. All of that sort of stuff. Going into real fight or flight mode or whatever, I don't know, whatever. And so we get into the car, and Dan said, "You were amazing in there. You really made, you know, it gave me a lot of ease and a lot of, you know." And I said, "Look, the only reason why I was amazing in there is because you can't tell how stressed I am, because I've got a frozen face. So, you know, I'm as stressed as you are, mate, but you just can't tell because I looked impossibly fresh." So next day, in we go. And the first operation while he was lying, sort of waiting to go into the operation, you know, we'd had gloves on. We were taking photos, doing selfies.
Doing funny things.
Mucking around. Let me tell you, the next day we were not mucking around. The severity of what was happening was not lost on us.
So, Julie, it's not a common, you know, yes, breast cancer is, you know, prevalent in Australia with women, but with men, you know, it's not.
No, and it's not really talked about.
And men don't really think, "Oh, shivers, you know, I've just got a fatty cyst there," or, you know, whatever. How do they do a double mastectomy on a man? How?
I know. Well, you just cut the fucking chest out, basically. But yeah, the stats when Dan had his, and I haven't looked up those stats in that, you know, those years. What is that? That's sort of 6, 7, 8 years ago. Is that it was 15,000 women, and I'm sure that number's gone up since then. Yes. 15,000 women a year in Australia are diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was something like 150 men.
Wow.
So, and the you know, the success rate in men is nowhere near as high as the success rate that we have with women. You know, not everybody has that success in this insidious disease, but you know, with men, part of it is leaving it that bit longer. Part of it is where it's, you know, located you know, if you're thinking in terms of, you know, the chuzzy, and you've got a flat, you know, you've got a flat chest there. It's going to go right into there. So he's only had a single mastectomy. He did not have the double.
Okay, so
and they just basically cut whatever's from there to there, and they just tape that all out, whatever's there. So there's no
muscle, just all the muscle. Mainly
just a lot. just a lot has to go. So he now has he's got obviously an intense scar, and just above the scar he has the letters back to front tattooed, lucky me, because he just said there's an amazing feeling of a near-death experience like that, is that you that feeling, you are buoyed for a good 12 months of, I'm so lucky, I'm going to live my life differently, these are the things I'm going to do. And he said that within about 12 months he was back to being, whatever, furious about the traffic and how dare they say that and whatever. And he said,
move out of the way.
I want to get back. Yeah, I want to get back to that headspace of I've got extra time. So, and does he have, that reminds him.
Julia, does he have to go for checks, or is everything?
He doesn't have to go for checks, but he does go for checks, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think once it's cut out and it's gone and it's clear, he doesn't have the BRCA gene, which is the breast cancer gene, because interestingly, at the time when we went for those BRCA tests, and we all had them anyway, I had a test just for the girls, and we happened to be exposed to the opportunity of, being tested. And I wish I could remember what BRCA means, but it's kind of, do you have the cancer gene in your body? Is it worth looking out for? And I remember the doctor saying the easier thing to look out for is, what are all the women in your extended family doing? If they're not alive, it's time to check.
Get them to check, yeah.
Yeah, because whether that's through breast cancer or ovarian cancer, cervical cancer, whatever, is that different women's cancers present with that BRCA gene, and not just in women, in men as well.
And Julia,
but he doesn't have that gene.
He doesn't have that gene, and he is very lucky. And I like that he's got that tattoo.
It's so
cool.
It's a
good story, Julia.
When he first did it, I was just like, "Oh, do you need a rashy, babe, on the beach?"
Yeah, you didn't want.
It's just, when somebody's, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, I'm just going to say, when someone's got something to look at, that's all I can look at.
Yes.
And he's like, this scar is part of my life being saved, so if someone else has got an issue with it, so then you kind of wish someone would come up and have a go at you, so you can just fucking let it, well, especially during menopause.
You would have been like...
But I think the stress of all of that happening comes because my mum couldn't really remember when she had menopause, because their generation really didn't talk about it very often, and didn't. I assume they discussed it with their girlfriends, but they don't remember those details very clearly. It's sort of the same with as the girls grew up. I was trying to see if mum could remember whether I was up to that stage, but what happens is, as the years roll on, it's already happening to me now, I don't quite remember if, that child was 3 or 4 when that moment happened. Yes. I remember her biting someone, but was that, I know it was just once, but was it when she was 2 or when she was 3? It's kind of what those details go, and that's exactly, so not having the information from my mum. I said, did you go through a horrible time? Like I've been through a horrible time with menopause.
Like many years, Julia? Like, has it been over?
Well, since 45, I'm now 50,
still
turning
going
53
through
next year, and I'm still having the heat from it. I feel like I've got a lot of the fury under control, but oh my God, the fury. I mean, you wonder why I got the glasses. I just was wearing them on a daily basis. Like, if anyone even looked at me sideways, it wouldn't have been out of the question that I could physically use my body to bash them to death. And that's not a great headspace to be in.
Can you put them back on, Julie? I've got to take a photo. Oh, you are just the best. So I think I've been lucky because my mum goes, it goes on for 10 years. Like, how old's your mum?
She's 83.
And my mum's like 77. So she doesn't have the best memory, plus having a brain tumour, like her memories,
Yeah, right.
And she goes, it goes on for 10 years. I go, don't tell me that. I just think it went on and on and on. She doesn't really remember either.
I don't think anyone tells the truth about it. I think that's what's happened. I think, as you say, that, you know, it's by saying that went on for 10 years, please don't tell me that. I think there's a lot of that attached to it. I think that our, I'm older than you, but I think our generation of women are really starting much more, this might be so wrong. I'm just out of the side of my head, but I feel like we're being more honest about it, or maybe I'm just listening.
Yeah, I tell my friends that my age, and they haven't even started.
No, and lots of girls don't. Lots of girls have started that peri stage where they're kind of like, they've still got their period, but they're
coming
like,
on and off. They're like, oh, it's gone to like 40 days. I'm like, oh yeah, it's starting. It's gone to. I'm like, yeah, it's starting. And then I'm lucky enough to be able to give them the bit of insight. I took a lot of natural support. And I've been quite lucky. I didn't get the fury. I didn't.
Oh my Godfather, the fury. So Dan likened it in the nicest possible way. He said, I feel like I just used to get you angry for those couple of days before you get your period. And he said that the interesting switch over went to like nuclear fury for 28 days a month. But it also coincided with a tremendous surge in work for me.
Oh, okay.
So those two ran side by side. So not only was the fury rising, honestly, the reason why I went to see the psychologist during that menopausal time, that start of the menopause, was because I thought, I am going to fucking bash someone and I will throw everything that I've worked for away. That's how it felt. That's why I initially went to
I think I did have moments of that sort of that rage, but only moments where I could have, I don't know, got Gem and flung him by the, like it was just like, that's not me. That's not me.
Nothing gives you fury like having a child. You think. I thought it was so easy going before kids. I'm like, you know what? I'm just fun to be around. And then you have kids. Oh, fuck. You're like, what the fuck?
Pushes your buttons, doesn't they? And they know how to push. They know exactly how to push your buttons, especially the mum.
What they do is they sticky tape them down, those buttons. They sticky tape. They're just omnipresent.
But the night sweats, Julia, I have told my friends, the night sweats, the Umbra can sleep on, off, clothes on, off, and
on with the doona, off with the doona, on with the doona. So I'm definitely still having that. Definitely still having that, and so I am nearly 8 years in. But I think little symptoms come and go over that 10-year period. So yes, it feels like 10 years that your mum was saying, because I was saying to my girlfriends, I feel like I was in peri for nearly 5 years.
Oh.
4 years, 5 years easily. And then all of a sudden, as you say, it stops and then it's gone. And then once that full year without a period's gone by, that's when you're officially in menopause. And then I think 2 years, I mean, can you imagine going a full year and then a fucking period coming?
Oh, that didn't happen to me.
Not again. That didn't happen to me either. But it's happened to girlfriends of mine where you're just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I want goodbye.
Someone told me the other day that apparently there is a possibility of you falling pregnant even while you're in menopause.
No.
I was like, oh my God.
I found it hard enough when I had a period to get pregnant.
Can you imagine?
And that's why they call it menopause. I definitely.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know, I can't. I don't want to bash on about women's issues and women's.
No,
but like, how do we get all of this? So yes, I know we have the joy of carrying that child if you're lucky enough that that's going to happen for you. And I use the word joy loosely, but then so at a time when I feel like you're at your professional apex in your workplace, not everybody, but I went completely nuts. I'd genuinely been really easygoing. I turned into someone that needs to check every single photo that's going to be printed of me.
Oh.
I need every single. I have to edit anything that's to do with my image or my. I got very controlling and I got very aggressive and I got all of a sudden the voice that I hadn't used for 40 years. Everyone had to hear. So I had to sort of psychology again helped me
Okay.
control when it's appropriate to use that voice and speak up. But I'd left it so long to really speak my truth that by the time I was just like, don't fucking speak to me like that, I was next level furious.
And Julie, with just one last thing on menopause, did you get the menopause spare tire? Like I have struggled with thing. I just got this I don't know, where did it come from? This
No, stand by. Do we want to have a look at it? The double belly, here it is.
I've got that.
It's that
Same.
double belly weirdness.
Yeah. And that is what happens. And it's very hard to shift. And
there is no shifting.
I've been tiny my whole life. Like honestly, I haven't really had to worry. You know, I'm small in stature and then I've just got this.
And tiny.
And then I've just got this.
Yeah, absolutely that.
It's come from nowhere, Julia. Just came.
I know. Oh, mine was there all along. It just came and went and came and went and came and went like a bad pimple that'll never go away. But last night because I was just thinking, you know, at 52, when do you let go of trying to get that flat stomach or holding that stomach
That's
in?
right.
I mean, I think you've got to have this, you know, you've certainly got to do a little bit of work on your core just to help with wee and to help with
back,
you know, being upright.
back. Well,
I remember going to a trainer about in fact exactly a year ago, and he said, what do you want to achieve out of our sessions? You know, they do that and you're just like, here we go, I'm just starting this, you know, I'm starting this absolute treadmill of I'll do some workouts, then I'll get injured, then I'll stop it again for another couple of months, thank God. And I said to him, because he said, like, is it weight loss? Is it, you know, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to stay out of the nursing home as long as possible.
Exactly.
So he's like, all right. And I said, I know it seems silly to say that at 53 or 52, but, you know, you need wrist strength and you need a bit of core if you want to stay in your home until the end.
Yes. Oh,
so now I'll be like, okay, I think I've just been doing some tennis ball work, you know, squashy ball work. And
see, my wrists aren't so good, Julia, already.
I'm the same.
Oh, good. Can't turn things.
Oh, my God, how embarrassing. So, yeah.
Tim calls it my claw. He goes, oh, how's your claw? Oh.
I mean, the gentle disintegration of the body, having been a hot lady over the years, it's hardcore.
It's not easy. It's not easy, but I'm determined. I'm determined to do what I can to keep the same. My strength and,
yeah.
You know,
absolutely. I mean, you know, if the lockdown has taught me anything else is that we are going to, you know, we need to fend for ourselves.
Yeah.
So we need to physically fend for ourselves. I can't guarantee that Dan is going to be here for this lifetime. I mean, on every level. Whether he will eventually wake up and realise that he's living with the most annoying woman in the whole wide world, or if he decides that it's time to pop his clogs. I don't know, you know, like every couple of years he tries to pop his clogs. So I just thought, you know, I also need to build a new human to go into this second stage of my life. I did a stand-up show the year before last, which I talked a lot about the crossover, because a lot of people don't like the word menopause, but I feel like there feels like there's two distinct moments, but parts of life in my head, which is the, you know, sexy out there, woo, you know, fun, whatever. And I feel like when is that crossover to go, oh, I'm going to embrace this next part of my life now. And one of those things is letting go of giving a fuck about that stomach. Yeah. Of course, no one's looking at me like I'm some hot 20-year-old unit. Do you know what I mean? So why does the stomach matter? Like, get a full skirt. Focus on something else. I don't even show chuzies much anymore because I'm just like, oh, these tired old baps.
Well, you always look fantastic, Julia. What you wear, you always look absolutely amazing. But I know you've got
that's because it's
people dressing you.
Incredible stylists over the years have contributed to making it look like I've got great style. I am in my style today. So let me just so I've got like a groovy pant on.
They're nice. They're cargo. I like them.
They're sort of like a bit of a poo pants situation.
Guess what? Same
And
as me. I got
this is
poo
my
pants
full
on.
jam. I am in comfy
Yeah.
t-shirts, yummy pants at all times now. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these beautiful clothes. I've practically got a library of beautiful gowns for my girls. And you know it's going to happen like what happens with kids, the teenagers. They're going to go, I don't want that stuff. It's daggy.
Or they'll say, oh, we're going to a dress-up party. Can we borrow one of your... Well, hello. If you're loving what you're seeing, make sure you tune in to next Thursdays because I've got part 2 with Julie and Boris, and it's just as good. But please make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to Pure Grit so you don't miss a thing. Okay.